Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. And out front tonight, we begin with the breaking news on that code red. We have new dispatch audio just into the show tonight. And this is the first time that we have aired here at CNN this crucial audio. And what it reveals is first responders and how they were trying to save lives, the terrifying critical hours as they were rushing to save lives as those floodwaters were surging in central Texas. The floods, we now know, have killed at least 121 people. 160 are still missing and unaccounted for at this hour as the search continues. So let's start with this audio that we are just getting in. I'm going to play it for you for the first time. Well before the code red, which came all the way, 6 o'clock in the morning or close to then, this is the audio of a volunteer firefighter out there trying to save lives, 3:27 a.m. on Friday morning, July 4th. Listen for yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Just for your 43, the Guadalupe is starting to come up, and Shoemaker is no longer passable at this time.
Talking about roads already being closed, being flooded out. I'm going to speak to the man who recorded all of this in just a moment because he's the former IT director for Cary County. He helped to install the code red system that's in place. And he said that you just heard, very calmly delivered from that firefighter at 3:27 a.m., though, should have signaled a massive emergency. Because what it meant when he said Schumacher is no longer passable meant that emergency responders could no longer get to the city of Hunt from the east. So at that moment, he said that was crucial. And from that moment on, the waters were rising fast.
Respond to 2029, Highway 39, 2029, Highway 39. It's going to be for a water rescue. House callers, house flooded. We're getting multiple calls off of 39. People are stating their houses are flooding. We're trying to advise them to get to higher area.
Multiple calls off that road 39. And then at 4:30, that firefighter on the ground calls in and asks for that formal code red.
Is there any way we can send a code red out to our Hunt residents asking them to find higher ground or stay home?
10-4, standby. We have to get that approved with our supervisor.
All right, you hear that exchange. It would be 90 minutes from that call to when Kerrville's mayor told the Texas Tribune that he finally received that code red alert. Now, during that time, a roughly 30-foot wall of water decimated communities and children's camps along the Guadalupe River. And the 911 calls that you just heard referred to there on that emergency dispatch line, the 911 calls did not stop.
We received a phone call at our fire station to have a lady, she's frantic. She's at Casa Bonita, 117 Corto Way or Casa Bonita Lodges, and she said her children are on top of one of the cabanas and they're trapped.
The terrifying calls, one after the other, coming as right now, the painstaking search for 160 people still known to be missing is ongoing. They're looking right now as we're talking, and it's entering the 8th day. We are also getting a startling new image of the terror that so many had to endure during the storm. We'll show you this picture. This is from the boys' camp La Junta, right nearby, about 5 miles north of Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic, where, of course, 27 kids and counselors were known to have been killed. Here, though, this is in Camp Junta. You can see 5 kids clinging onto the rafters. I mean, look at them up there. If you could just look at that picture, clinging to the rafters in their cabin to survive. A mother of one of them tells us that a counselor helped the kids climb onto those wooden beams once the water had reached the top bunks, and there was nowhere else for them to go. They couldn't get out. Thank God, in that situation, everyone was safely evacuated. All those children are safe. We're going to have much more on this dispatch audio in just a moment, along with the man who recorded all of it. But first, Isabel Rosales is out front. She is in Center Point, Texas, on the desperate search for the missing. And Isabel, another 24 hours, still no one else is found, but still at least 160 missing.
Erin, that is correct. And what I've seen here is a relentless, coordinated effort at the local, state, and federal level, also including volunteers. We've been here for days now, and at this particular RV resort since this morning, and it's incredible seeing the hour-by-hour, real-time evolution of the progress, that they're making, moving all sorts of major debris, like campers like this, out of the way to make sure that they're checking that nothing and no body has been left behind. But at the same time, to what you were saying, Aaron, a grim fact that they haven't found anyone alive here in Kerr County for 6 days now.
You hear the dog barking right now.
A hit from a cadaver dog. So you're thinking that there could be remains in there?
Yes, ma'am. Possibly.
Sends Jordy Marks and his team into action. The private drone company owner launching a surveillance drone over the Guadalupe River to aid the Cajun Navy and first responders in their search.
We just heard the dogs get a hit, so I'm gonna scan that area and make sure, just make sure there's nothing there.
With more than 2,000 emergency workers on the ground, the search for the missing intensifying, nearly a week after floods devastated this idyllic part of central Texas.
What I'm looking for is anything that's different in the water. Anything that stands out in the water, I'm going to zoom in that area.
It took days for the drones to get authorization to join the search after a private drone operating in the restricted airspace over the flood area struck an emergency helicopter on Monday. It was forced to make an emergency landing, and all drones were grounded from what has proven to be a challenging search. For the second day in a row, there remains at least 160 people still missing.
The current was so strong, I think it took people and put them underneath debris, and if people are just chopping the debris, and while the water is receding, then we're going to start seeing more people.
Now they join teams continuing their search in the water and on the ground. Heavy machinery doing the heavy lifting, flipping over river-swept vehicles. FEMA task force is now on site, setting up command along the Guadalupe River. Search crews wading its waters, moving debris piece by piece. Cadaver dogs actively scanning miles of riverbanks. Helicopters assisting overhead while ambulances wait on site, all in the grim search for victims of the flood.
The efforts get more complicated by the day. We covered a lot of area, but now it's the detailed work of getting through all this debris and destruction and making sure that we find every last victim.
And it's not lost on people, the gravity of this situation. 160 people missing, but really that is also a focus on bringing closure to these families. There's a FEMA task force that set up a command post right here at this RV resort that's been destroyed. They're wrapping up for the day, Aaron, but they will be back tomorrow.
All right, Isabel, thank you so much on the ground there. And let's go now to John David Trollinger. He's the former information technology director for Kerr County. He told us he helped install the Code Red system. And I really appreciate your time, John, because I know, you were there listening, right? You were listening to these calls start to come in on dispatch. You were, recorded that and shared the audio that we have been playing for viewers. So you know how the whole system works. As you're monitoring the scanner traffic, the floods start. You do this, you as a hobby, you listen to this so everyone understands that. When you first heard something that signaled to you there is a problem, right? I understand it was at 3:27 a.m. I want to play what you heard at that time.
Yes, ma'am. Just for your 43, the Guadalupe is starting to come up, and Shoemaker is no longer passable at this time.
So, John, when you hear Guadalupe is starting to come up, Shoemaker is no longer passable at this time, you knew emergency. How come?
Well, that's the main highway that goes into Hunt, and that means EMS, fire, the sheriff's office can't get there. There might be a couple small roads that are still passable to go around, but it's a long way. But with the way it was raining, I knew that the river was coming up and that those low water crossings from there out to the west were already flooded, because I've been through that before. I've been in the sheriff's office dispatch when it's occurred previously, and I was keeping minute by minute updates as the sheriff directed me to, as the previous sheriff Hierholzer directed me to update the website to keep the public informed.
So are you saying as early as 3:27 a.m. that things could have played out very differently in terms of alerts and code reds and frankly, just to be blunt, hundreds possibly of lives saved?
Well, it's too late for Hunt. The water's up, and the volunteer fire department guy's been there. He knew it was coming because he's awake and he's sitting in his truck looking at it. But the water's come up, and the wall of water's heading down to Ingram. So you hear some radio traffic in a little bit. that's going to warn people that warn to tone out Ingram that they need to start evacuating the RV park downriver. And I fully believe that a really quick action could have, and I'm not going to hindsight it all, but a quick action could have helped people downriver. But at 3:30, once it hit 4:30, it was just too late. The code red would have been ineffective, in my opinion.
And when you talk about the lives that could have been saved in those RV parks, I mean, we still don't know. 160 people are missing, right? We don't know where they may have died. We're going to find out. But I want to play again something else that stood out to you. This is a little bit later, John. So this is at 5:11 a.m. Here's what you heard.
We've got one female pulled out of the water. If you'll have more units come down to the end of Rolling Trail and go through the gate, she's going to need medical attention.
10-4, we're getting EMS in.
So that's 5:11 a.m., John. The mayor said that he didn't get the code alert until 6 a.m., right? So 50 minutes later, 49 minutes later. When you heard that
That's
at
right.
5:11 a.m., what did you think? Obviously, you know, still hadn't gotten a code red.
Well, at that point, Aaron, the weather alert radar or the weather reporting from the National Weather Service and all the other things, I had 3 radios going. It was just so busy that, you know, it all scrambled together. I didn't even think about, you know, what could be done at that point other than I might be able to call into dispatch. I had that thought briefly, but this first responder, he went in the river. I was listening to all these little bits of traffic that not everything was captured on the recorder, but that first responder went into the flooded Guadalupe River. And my family's been here for a very long time. I know exactly what it looks like when it floods, so I can picture it. And he could have easily died, but instead he rescued that woman. He pulled her out. Those are the people that really need the attention here.
I mean, the heroic acts of those first responders, and I know that, you know, the sheriff has said we're going to learn more and more about them, and hopefully we will. The individuals who are willing to, you know, to allow us to know what they did, because of course they did it with the expectation no one would ever know. They did it because that's who they are and what they do. When do you think, John, that an alert should have been sent, and do you think that it would have saved? I don't know, would you maybe all of the lives lost, some of them? I mean, how do you see this when you take a step back?
Well, I've only got my direct experience with Sheriff Hierholzer in dispatch and just how attuned he was to informing the public. I'm not going to second guess the dispatchers or the sheriff, but certainly when the National Weather Service and the Texas Emergency Management Agency Operations Center are staffing up, someone needs to be paying attention and prepare people in our county for a for an emergency. Someone should be ready at 1 o'clock when the Weather Service said that there's going to be a flash flood. So the 1 a.m. National Weather Service call would be my my pick. That would be the latest that an alert could have gone out to the public that could have saved lives.
Of course, that's 5 hours earlier than it did. And you know, you think about those hours, you listen to this, you listen to it that night, but now listening to it, I know you get emotional because you hear those voices, you know, some of those people may have survived, some did not. What is it like listening to all of this again?
Well, I've been able to heal up a little bit on Sunday. I had a lot of my my shipmates from when I was in the Navy. I had a lot of people that I've been able to connect with. I've gone up to the church. I've thanked first responders, but you know, even after that day on Sunday, it's still, you know, when I see the kids at the soccer field and their soccer coach and their family. It's just, you know, I stopped for the first time ever, and you know, I go running around the soccer field a lot. They see me out there all the time, and on Monday, I stopped and talked to those kids and told them that, I thought really well of the coach, and I was glad they were out there. It was noon. It was very hot, and we were all just getting it out of our system, getting exercise to, it helps a lot, Aaron, to do that, exercise and diet.
John, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing all of that with us, to hear, in the moment, the raw, unfiltered moment of what happened. So thank you. And I want to go to Shimon Pokupez out front in Ingram, Texas, because Shimon, John David there is talking about Ingram and how it's downriver from where those initial calls came from. As we were playing some of what he had recorded that night, you heard his ultimate conclusion was that 1 a.m. is the time he would identify when the National Weather Service had issued its warning that that's when he would have gone ahead with a code red that could have saved many lives. What are you learning about all of this, the decision-making, the timing?
So here's the thing, Aaron. What we don't know on the county level, and I think it's good that he was being so specific here, because we do know that people at the Texas Department of Emergency Management, professionals, a pretty an agency that has a lot of credibility, was sounding the alarm 2 days before this on July 2nd and talking about resources available and moving resources into this area and getting ready. They were getting ready for what could possibly be. But the problem is, it appears up to this point that no one in the city, no one in the county was doing the same thing. While the state is sending out alerts and telling people, go and listen to your local authorities, listen to the people in your community, the law enforcement, the people who are supposed to protect you, see what they're saying, monitor what they're saying, and follow their instructions. And it seems that that never happened. And the fact that at 1 a.m., that is so key, because that's something that I've been asking about, because at 1 a.m., normally what happens is if you have an emergency operations center, if you know there's a concern over flash flooding, someone is up, someone is monitoring it, someone is talking to meteorologists, someone is talking to people along the river who could possibly be monitoring what is happening where you are, what is happening where you are. And they are anticipating, the worst. That's how emergency management works. And you at least give people the option, if they want to evacuate, you give them that option. Yeah. You say to them, do what you need to do, and if you need to get up and you need to get out, get out. But there was no option here. These people went to bed with their little kids, expecting everything was going to be okay. And in the middle of the night, they get woken up by screams and by flashing lights. Those are the people I spoke to who told me that is how they knew something was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, talk to someone in a camper, right? They hear the screaming. 10 minutes later, their RV is gone. Yes. They're alive. Awful. That's the miracle. Awful. So many around them are not. Shimon, thank you very much. On the ground in Ingram.
Yep.